Hello there, boys and girls, everyone on watching stuff on YouTube, and whoever else is out there in the world. Well, it's part 3 of Buckin Billy Ray's 394. I'm going to start putting it together, but I just wanted to explain a couple things about it. So we've decided to kind of keep it original the way it was, and I think I kind of told you that, but maybe not. I'm telling you now. So our friend, Buckins and my friend, Brian Bearclaw, that's what everyone calls him, Bearclaw. He originally ported this. He did the lower transfers. He opened them up. He did a little bit of exhaust work, not a lot, which they don't really need a lot. You want to keep the bottom end in them. And he's done a little bit of intake timing. So I would say probably about 10 degrees more in the intake timing. I'm not even going to degree wheel it. We're just going to put it together the way it was. It was a strong saw, and it was a good saw. So he's got some wild looking muffler on it. Would have been one of the first kind of, I don't know what you want to call this thing. Some sort of alien looking muffler. But probably one of Bearclaw's first ones that he ever built. I think I seen one of these on my friend Murchie's saw too. Yeah, so I got that bolted up with some new bolts and nuts. I've cleaned the carbon out of it. Got the gasket surface all ready to go because we're going to use just a Moto Seal on the bottom end. Moto Seal is what I use on all my base gasket deletes and other stuff. I like the product. There's other stuff out there too, like Yamabond, Honda Bond, other products, but to me this is the go-to. It adds 2 thousandths clearance if you wanted to know that. I don't know whoever measured that, but I guess it's not hard to measure that. Check your squish, put some in, then try it again, right? Anyways, that's what I've been told. So here we are. The crankcase is completely gutted off everything. The oiler's off it. The flywheel's off it. The tank's off it. I was going to show you guys where we talked about putting seals in it, but unfortunately Husqvarna has had some issues with keeping parts in stock in Canada. We're back ordered on seals, but you know, these old 394s, I've never seen them really leak. You know, maybe an old one that's been sitting around for a long time and the seals got hardened up, but no, I believe these are still good. So we're just going to go with putting it back together. I just spent probably a good hour cleaning all the crap off this thing. He might have been running some vegetable oil in it or Mazola oil, but the stuff just gets caked everywhere and stuff sticks to it. It's disgusting stuff to clean up. Anyways, so here we are. Crank's already in, obviously. I've checked the crankcase bolts just because, you know, I just like to be thorough. The spring mounts back on the front. The rubber mounts are in the front here. And this guard, people always wonder what's that guard for. This guard is here so you don't break the crankcase, okay? Mike Akers came up with this. You guys know Mike Akers from Chainsaw Collector's Corner. When he was working with Husky, he got them to develop and make this plate here and the screw-on mount here. So the screw holds this on and these 2 screws. So they had to incorporate, drill some holes and tap them for that. So good job on that, Mike. Hope you're doing well, buddy. So, okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tank back on, okay? I've already inspected the fuel lines. They're perfect. The vent line is good to the type of vent that me and my dad used to put on them. I'm going to leave it all original. The throttle cable is perfect. It's not worn through the sheathing or anything. The mounts are in good shape. So here we go. We're going to put this on first. And I have all my screws laid out here. You know, me, I didn't need to lay them out. I can just grab them out of the box. I know which one fits. But now they're out here. They're a little easier to see, and I'll go from there. So let's first get the tank kind of on the case. I hope you can see this okay. Let me just check my zoom, see how it's working there. I hope everyone had a great long weekend for May. Here it kind of rained a bit. Me and Shelly took our RV trailer, our little one. We pulled it with the little SUV Mercedes. And I went down to Weirs Beach on the west coast side of the island, sort of by Souk area. So it kind of rained a bit, then it was okay. So it was all right. There's nothing like getting away from home and enjoying the nature of the surroundings you're in. So, okay, here we go. Let's get the tank onto the case. So what I do is I first just put the first spring mount in the front there, kind of. Lay the tank there, like so. Okay. Get our fuel lines kind of inside the throttle cable. And we'll take our first screw and put into the tank here. So working on these saws, you don't need a lot of tools, eh? You know, I got a 4mm driver here that I run on my ratchet, or I could use a T-bar, right? Which takes longer, but you still get the same effect. I have a 3/16 T-bar that fits the cylinder bolts, because remember on 394s, 2100s, I've told you before, they're a 1/4-inch bolt, which is odd. It's the only standard bolts in a Husky. Even today's 395s are like that, but all the other new stuff all has torque stuff now, and it's either 3, 4, 5, and 6 mil. Okay, so you need also the 3/16 Allen socket to tighten the cylinder when you're torquing it. So we'll start off with our first bolt, which actually has a washer on it because you're holding the plastic tank up against the spring mount, eh? So we'll get that in there. You know, you can do it like I do, where I use this. I get these off Snap-on, by the way. So these are roughly about 6 inches long, and they're just super good, super good bits. I never totally torque things properly or tighten right up with the torque wrench because I don't like to strip things. I always do it by hand afterwards, but I'll first run them in with the impact, and then I'll tighten them by hand. So there we go. So there's the first bolt in here. Now the back part here, the bolts aren't in yet, but I'm going to put this back air filter housing and carb housing on now, okay? So what I'm going to do here is just kind of set it on here, get the throttle cable up into its hole, and the fuel line and the vent hose that I've made up to a couple of holes over here, and then we're going to set it down and tighten it down, okay? So I know I'm not the best camera guy in the world, but you guys are watching and hopefully can pick up on what I'm doing here. So we'll feed the throttle cable up to that little hole there. Our lines up to the holes where the throttle, where the fuel line will go, and the vent line. So we'll get that one up there. Okay. And another one. I need my headlight on it. Let's put that on so I can see a little better. I always use these headlamps, man. They're just so handy, especially with us old guys that have bad eyes. It's just nice to be able to see things. You always got lots of shadows, right? Okay, so we get that line up there. Yeah, not quite. Come on. Nothing ever goes right when you're filming, right? Come on, sucker. Yeah, so Buckin's got quite a story with this saw. As you know, it was his first one he bought off us. You guys have heard the story. You know, we told him he wasn't going to run a 372 and stuff. He's going to run the 394. Come on, get in there. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's get that up. That line up. Okay. Get it up there like that so it doesn't fall down again. Our throttle cable's in the hole. So our fuel line, our vent line, our throttle cable are in the hole. Let's get these two back bolts down. They're the same length ones as the one I put in the front. So 5mm by whatever. When you do lots of saws through your lifetime, you get to learn where they all go pretty quick, right? Let's get that lined up with that mount. Okay, that one on that side, that one on this side. I've checked the ground wire for the switch. It seems to be decent. Sometimes if you just pull on them and they feel spongy, you know they're not connected right. And that's been a big problem on 394s and 395s is switches and switch wires. I think I told you guys before, you know, my dad one time at the factory when we were there. He's like, he asked the guys, like, who makes your switches? Like a cousin or something? Because you guys must be making a lot of money on them because they fail way too much. Anyways, that's just a little funny. Okay, let's get our other 2 screws in the front part of it. They're another 5mm shorties. One for your ground wire here that goes in. That's your ground, obviously, for the switch. And then we're going to be ready to, now we're going to put our flywheel back on, our coil back on. So there you go. There's your tank installed already. Fuel line, vent line. And now we'll put the flywheel on, which I've checked over decently and cleaned. It's got one pole that's got a little bit of wear to it, but they're working fine. Okay, so let's find the keyway. I put the keyway in a bag here with the top end bearing and the wrist pin bearing and the circlip. I think I did. Where is it? Huh. I thought I did. Sometimes I put them on the magnet of the coil. But come on here, Donnie. Let's just empty the bag out. Nope, not in there. I was sure I put it in there. Okay, let's look in the box here. I still got the box here with all the bolts in it. Oh. Uh-oh. Missing a keyway. What do we do with it? Huh. Hey, that's not a problem. I got one probably in my tickle trunk here. Everyone's got a tickle trunk in their toolbox. Okay? A drawer in your toolbox that you keep all these little things because you just never know when you lose something. So let's see if I can quickly find one here and get it operational here. Come on, come on, come on. One sec. Okay, I'm back. I paused for a minute. Keyway was inside the wrist pin in the bag. Go figure. It's a good thing I checked that out, eh? Or that I would have put that together. Well, I would have noticed it, but you never know. I could have put it together and that keyway was inside the wrist pin. Would have fell out and totally wrecked the engine, right? Okay, keyway's on the shaft. Let's put the flywheel on. Line it up. Kerplunk. Away it goes. On the flywheel on these, you have a nice thin washer and a flywheel nut. We're going to torque this to Donnie's torque specs, which is a good wrap of the impact. People always ask me, what do you torque these different bolts to? I said, I don't know, man. I've never used a torque wrench. I use a torque wrench on racing engines and stuff, like on heads and stuff, but on these things, I just tighten everything up by hand. Hard, right? You know, flywheel nut definitely you want to spin on decently. Use a 9/16 or a 14mm socket on this nut. It is metric, but I don't know where my 14 was. We got a 9/16 here. So we're gonna wrap it on. The snap-on impact works great. It's got enough power. I know exactly what it is. And there's no way that's going to come off or the keyway's not going to spin because I know it's right. I've done so many of them. Okay, now we're going to get our coil here. Where did I put that? Okay, over here. And the coil itself, you have two 3mm bolts. And all these Allen bolts you should take. I have like a tuning screwdriver, and normally I'll just sharpen it into a point and use it for cleaning out the hex heads of the bolts. Okay, it's really important. These are easy to strip. Hex head bolts are terrible, man. Torx heads are the best, and a lot of companies have gone to Torx, right? It just makes sense. You hardly ever strip them. So as far as the gap of the coil is, you could use the old method of using a business card, or I use this gauge from Husqvarna, which is an air gap tool. Okay, it's brand new. It's probably around 10 to 11 thou, more than likely. Let's have a check. Oh, more than that. It's 15 thou. Oh, 14. Okay, so yeah, anywhere around that, 12 to 15. You know, that's all you need. So I put it in here against the coil. I get the magnets up against the coil, so it's holding the coil in position. Then I take my two little 3mm bolts. Forgot that wrench to put on the bench. And turn them in and tighten them up. Give them a good tighten. I have seen these come loose. Sometimes I used to put Loctite on them, but you don't really need to. Just make sure they're tight. Okay, move that around, get that. Push the coil right up as far as you can. That'll make it be advanced as much as it will. Some of these I used to modify and file the holes longer on the coil so I could move it up farther to actually advance it a bit more. Instead of cutting a keyway and doing that. I don't like doing that kind of thing. So that's the way I used to advance the timing on them, but you really don't need to. These things got tons of torque. They're a nice saw. So there we go. Our flywheel's on, our coil's on. Let's go to this other side now and work on putting our oil hose in and our oiler system. So first, we have our oil hose here. We'll just give this a little wipe down. You know, oiling is a big thing on saws. You got to watch some of these older 394s. This brass screen would fall off and fall into the tank, then all the dirt would come in the hose and clog up the oiler. So let's just give it a little blast of air out, just to make sure it's clear. All good. Okay, and we're going to put the oil line in here so it seats down in there. Okay. Nothing hard about that. Okay. And now we're going to look at the oil pump. Now on the oil pump, you have your spot here where it sucks the oil out of the tank. And you got your delivery hole here where it goes through the delivery hole in the crankcase up to the slot here to the bar mount, okay? Make sure you don't lose this little rubber O-ring on here, or a little flat washer, like an O-ring, because it won't seal properly here for the oil delivery. Okay, so just make sure the oil gear is moving fine, and it's half clean, which it wasn't, but it is now. And we're gonna bolt it on now with 3mm screws. We're gonna set it down on there. Kerplunk, there it goes. Buckins got me doing that kerplunk thing. It's in my mind now. And again, let's clean the head screws out. Or the head of the screws, I should say. Not the head screws. Okay. Get our 3mm Allen wrench again. I use these Weehaw ones from Husqvarna I buy, or you can buy them other places. But these things are incredibly good. The steel in them are excellent. They'll last you almost a lifetime, these Allen wrenches. They just, you know, if they do start getting rounded off a bit, I don't grind them and get them hot on a grinder because it takes the temper out of them. So what I do is I put them in a vise and I use a flat file, a raker file, and I file it flat again so that the hex is better on it and not rounded off to strip your bolts, right? So get all three in there. I do have a driver for my impact for these as well, but I never use it. This is just so easy to do. Okay, so all three in there. Torque them down good. Some oilers, like on older Huskies, 266s, 288s, 2100s, the seal's built into the oiler, but these ones aren't. So that's on there now. Let's get our oiler gear. But before we put the oiler gear on, there's a large flat washer that goes on here to space it off the crank and keep it away from the seal, okay? So we'll just put that on there, the washer first. the oiler gear, just kind of spin it, put it on. Okay. That's not real hard to do, eh? We'll find our clutch drum here. And a clutch. Where is our clutch? Oh, right here, underneath my impact. The clutch looked in great shape. It's one of the newer style 394 ones. The original 394s had a smaller spring in them. These got the beefier springs like a 3120 or a 395. Clutch is in great shape. This saw doesn't have a ton of hours on it. We're gonna put our clutch sprocket or clutch drum bearing on here. You can put some grease on it. I just put a little bit of oil on it for now. It was pretty oily already. We're gonna get our sprocket. We're running an 8-tooth sprocket on this. That's what Buckin had on it, and that's what I'm gonna put back on it. It's hardly wore. It's in great shape. The spline though itself actually is quite wore. It's kind of unusual, but it's still there. It's sloppy a bit, but it'll work. Okay, so we'll get that on there. Match it up to the oiler gear. Make sure it sits on there right. Turning fine, right? Now we'll take our clutch and just spin it all by hand. You know, lefty tighty, righty loosey on these because it's a left-handed thread. So we're going to get it so it's kind of on there a bit. Then I'm going to take my impact with my 3/4 inch socket and just give it a little tight, but it's not the final tightness. I'm going to do that after when the top end is on and stuff. So I'm just going to hold the flywheel by hand and just run this on. Okay, so there you go. That's on there. I never suggest for people to run these type of saws with an outboard clutch after rebuilding them without a bar and chain on it or with the sprocket cover with a chain brake. These clutches, I've lost so many of these on old Husqvarnas. I'll be testing them on my test bench outside, and the guard dart things will come off and go flying across the yard 200 miles an hour, and you'll lose it, or you're going to spend a couple hours trying to find it. At our old shop in Nanaimo up on Jingle Pot, I guarantee you down in the ravine, there's an old creek behind there. I guarantee you there's probably 100 clutches down there. If you take a metal detector down there, you'll be able to find them all. But we never did do that. So anyways, okay, so I rattled that on, but I do suggest after is to run it with a bar and chain or with the clutch cover with the chain brake and hit the chain brake a couple times to lock the clutch onto the thread. Okay? Very important safety thing. Okay, so we got the flywheel on, the clutch on, so the PTO side is done, the ignition side's done. Now we got the tank on it. So let's now put our piston on and our cylinder, and then we're gonna go through the carburetor and make sure that the lung of the engine is working properly. Buckin did say this thing was running a little bit weird, but so far I haven't really found anything too bad. You know, I haven't even taken the carburetor apart, so that could been the problem is the carburetor. Or this tank vent system had, this filter was kind of plugged. I've cleaned it, but I kind of doubt it was this problem. This is working fine. Okay, so let's get some brake clean. We're going to clean the surface for where the cylinder sits down, the surface of the cylinder, and then we're going to glue it down and after the piston's on. Okay. A little bit of brake clean. Should have had that here, eh? Okay. Clean our surface there. Surface on the cylinder. Kind of already did earlier when I cleaned this carbon out of it and stuff, but nothing wrong with doing it again. Okay, so let's get our piston on. Start with getting our bag back here with the wrist pin, the circlip, and the top end bearing. Okay, make sure there's no hidden things in here. No keyway inside this pin. Nope, nope. See that? No, you don't. Okay, top end bearing, give it a little bit of oil. Okay, put that on there. I just use 2-stroke oil and a squirt can. Okay, which way does the piston go? Everyone asks on chainsaws. Pretty much all 2 strokes that I've ever worked on, The arrow on the piston on the top points towards the exhaust, okay? So if it doesn't have an arrow, then simply think about where the ring locators are that stops the ring from moving, and where your ports are, because you don't want the rings to get caught at a port, right? So if it doesn't have an arrow and someone's like polished it and it's missing, ask someone or research it a little bit before you do it and wreck your stuff. So yeah, the wrist pin's in one side without the circlip. The circlip's in the other side of the piston. And now we're gonna just set it over the rod and push the pin in. Kerplunk, there it goes. We get our wrist pin circlip here with our needle nose and set it on the side that I took it out. I've never had circlips go bad on these, fall out or wear out like those aftermarket ones that break the little end of the tab off, you know. Just a crappy design. Rotate it around, make sure it's seated in properly. Everyone's got different ideas where you should locate it. I locate it on the bottom. Okay, both are in. It's moving around, rings are free. Okay, we have your 2 ring locators in the back here. On the intake side, where some saws these days are on the sides of the exhaust port. So if you're porting a saw, really watch widening an exhaust port if you have your ring locator pins close to the side of the exhaust port, or you'll catch a ring and you'll have problems. Okay, we got our cylinder now. It's all cleaned up. We'll put our spacer back on here, or a piece on our phenolic spacer here. Okay, so got our 4 cylinder bolts that are, yes, 1/4 inch bolts. The heads are all semi-cleaned out of it. Give them one more little blast. Okay. Have them set aside, and now we're going to flip the cylinder over. We're going to put glue on it. The Moto seal, and we're going to glue the cylinder down. I think I'm going to just get this on and have a little chat about it. Oh, jeez. That would break as it fell down. Yeah, bummer. Okay, whatever. That's okay. Okay, so let's get our glue out here. We're going to glue the case. I put a decent amount on it, but not a stupid amount that I just squish it all out, right? I just use a little flat screwdriver, like a tuning screwdriver. And I put it on a nice coating all the way around. Just watch on a 394, you have a pulse hole right here. Okay, to run the pulse for the fuel pump. So just make sure you don't cover that hole, okay? Just kind of work around it. These have like a real narrow part on the cylinder. It's very thin on the side of for the transfer ports. So make sure you get a good amount on there. And I'll put a little bit on the crankcase as well, just for a little extra insurance. But I don't think I've ever had any leak, really. Some people are scared of putting glue on cylinders, but there's nothing wrong with it, as long as it's done right on the right model of saw too, right? As long as you got a good surface to put it on. This stuff's great. It's not expensive. You can buy it almost at any auto parts store, or order online probably if you want to order stuff online. I'm not a huge online buyer. I like to deal with my local businesses and support the local economy, right? Everyone should. Like Mr. Trump says. Oh, geez, I didn't mean to say that. Buckin's going to get ready to go to Buckin Fest. My brother, I think, is going to give him a bit of Walker swag. So if you guys are there, you can maybe get a Walker's hat or something. Or one of the shirts that Johnny has. I don't know exactly what he's going to send Buckin down there with. But that's kind of cool. I was thinking of going, actually. My brother actually offered me to go there. But I really don't have the time, and I'm still not healthy enough to be traveling, and I get a lot of stuff on the go. I go-kart racing and you know, stuff like that, and helping my family out. My dad's, you know, not doing too well, but Anyways, next time, maybe next year we can go to the Buckin Fest, eh? Okay, so we got the cylinder glued up. I'm going to just run over and grab a ring compressor, which I forgot. Here we go. Okay. So we got this baby. I'm going to put some oil on the piston. Okay. Set it back there. Get our cylinder bolts onto the cylinder. Unfortunately, this black piece that sits between the cylinder and the carburetor is broken. I don't have one sitting here right now. I probably got one somewhere, but it would take me a long time to look for it. We're just going to get this together. Then when Buckin brings it back from Buckin stock, we can put that back in. It's not that important for just a saw you're running once in a while. But if you're a production guy, I would definitely make the time and put it back in. Okay. So let's just get this on there. This can kind of go on there enough. That's what I'm going to do. And let's get the ring compressor now onto the piston. Get our rings where the locators are. Put that on there. Squeeze it. Okay. Now I just simply set the cylinder on there. Put my thumb on top and my fingers underneath. Push the cylinder down. Kerplunk. Away you go. Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to put a little bit extra glue on the side of the transfer, especially on the flywheel side. It's very thin there. I really don't like doing base gasket deletes on these, but it does work. You just got to do it right. Okay. So there we go. We got a little bit on there. It's okay. I'm going to get my 3/16 Allen now, which is for these 1/4-inch bolts, right? We're going to line this insulator block system here into the grooves. And we're going to start one bolt at a time. Okay? Get the Allen wrench down here. That one started. Make sure that's in the grooves. Yep. Okay. I'm going to get that one started. Okay. All 4 started. Before I press it right down with the glue. So that way you know everything's lined up and the screw, or obviously the glue's not going to squish out, right? Okay, so get it kind of down. Plunk. There we go. Okay, so that's on there now. I'm going to screw this one right down now until it touches, then evenly screw the rest of them down until it touches. 394s were a great saw. We did have the odd issue with carburetors, which I showed you before, which I'm going to show you again when I go through this carburetor on the next segment, the next video. And I'm going to show you how the needle and seat system, how it moves, and it makes it hard to start and very hard to start when it's hot, okay? Besides that, yes, we had some crankcase cracking at the beginning of the first models of 394s, but Husqvarna improved that as well. Just like they've done with every other model of their saws that crack crankcases. Okay, so all screws are down. Now I'm going to torque them. The second click of my wrist is the torque value, which is around 120 inch-pounds if you really want to know. Okay, all 4 are down. There we go. So we now have our flywheel on, our clutch on, our tank on, our cylinder on. next video, I'm going to go through the carburetor and show you that. Then we're going to finish bolting everything back up. Put the handlebars on it, a bar and chain on it, and we're going to go out and run it. Okay? Maybe we'll do 2 more videos. So the next video, I'm going to go through the carburetor, put it all on, have it here, start it. It should be fine. And then maybe, yeah, maybe I'll just go out and run it and make some cuts and link the 2 videos together like I've been doing lately, which I've kind of learned, hey? Donnie's finally learning how to kind of edit a little bit or just joining videos, so it works out okay. So there we go. Buckin saws back kind of, what do you call that? Half-assed together. It does not have a compression release. It just had the compression release plug put in it, obviously by what they did. But nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with using the side type decompression valves because they don't break and fall into the motor like the ones that are in the head or leak so much that you lose compression, okay? So there you go. His muffler's on, whatever you call that thing. Cyclops, I don't know. Frankenstein. Anyways, keep your saw in the wood, stick it in the ice, rubbing the road. Maintain your saws and your equipment. If you don't, you'll be spending more money down the road. If you have any questions or messages to me and you want to know some different information, like maybe how to do a bottom end of these, I've done other videos of it, but if you want me to show you something like that, just give me a comment and I'll certainly try to do that for you. So have yourself a good day. I'm getting called from upstairs here to get up and take old Fozzie for a ride and wear him out a little bit and get some exercise for myself, eh? So have a great day. Be safe out there. Be healthy. I don't know what else to say. That's not like me, eh? Can't get a word out. Anyways, catch you all later. Bye now.